Welcome. Great to have you with us on this Thursday. For those who will listen to the coaches show tonight, Lisa Berbanchek-Love, LB, will be the first guest, field hockey coach. Tough schedule. They got Syracuse coming up. And we'll talk to her about her team, which is 5-3 so far. And then we'll talk with James Franklin and take your questions over at the field at Toftree from, he'll be on from 6:30 to 7 this evening. And that is what we have coming up tonight in the show. And then tomorrow, people will start filtering into town. And then Saturday, Penn State and Iowa. Jazzy Patterson and Caleb Johnson, two very good running backs, are out of the game. It should be pointed out, though, that LaShawn Williams is a very good running back in his own right, coming off a 145-yard performance against Western Michigan, which happened to be the tape I watched. Plus, the freshman Moulton's very good. Washington, the freshman's very good. They run a lot of stretch plays. You don't see a lot of teams do this, but they run a lot of stretch plays. They'll put sometimes 7 and occasionally 8 on the line of scrimmage to do that. Physical team. They want to eat up the clock. That's why it's so important in a game like this to play from in front. Make them play from behind, because if they play from in front, now the game is being played the way they want it to be played. If you are playing from in front, now they get into an area where they may not be as comfortable in playing the game. And they have not been behind, really. I mean, in the second half of a game all season long. So they've been able to play the game the way they want to this point. And they will not have Luke Lachey, but they still have Eric All. Remember, Luke Lachey is really good. Really good play. He's really developed into a top-flight tight end. And I'm happy that he's done that, and I'm unhappy he's hurt for two reasons. Number one, you always want to see the best out there.
Absolutely.
Number two, I know his dad. Jim Lachey is the analyst for Ohio State, so I've known Jim for a long time. And of course, he had a terrific career in his own right, mostly with Washington. But he's just a terrific guy, so I don't want to see his son hurt. So there's a little bit of a connection there. That's the reason why. And but All is, who came over in part because Cade McNamara went there, is the primary tight end, the primary target. But they'll play 3 tight ends in the game. All, though, will be the best receiving option among the tight ends that happen to be remaining. Doesn't mean you can sleep on the other 2. One had 2 catches for 29 yards against Western Michigan. And then defensively, really good. They don't wow you with how fancy they are. Logan Lee, 85, good player. 13, Joe Evans, good player. They got Nick Jackson, who transferred in from Virginia, playing the outside linebacker spot. Very good player. Jay Higgins in the middle, good player. He'll make a lot of tackles. They set him up for a lot of tackles. The interesting part about him is that to this point he doesn't have any for losses, which I find to be interesting in 3 games. And then the secondary, Quinn Schulte's really good. Cooper DeJean, the corner, number 3, really good. So, I mean, look, they've got a lot going for them. And that will be, their kicking game is good. Taylor's an excellent punter. Stevens, the place kicker, has had a good year so far, including kickoffs. Every kickoff he's had has been a touchback to this point. So that's who they are. They're not going to surprise you with what they do. Oh, well, they run a reverse once in a while? Sure. But for the most part, they do what they do, and they try to execute and out-execute you. Other games on Saturday, Jim Harbaugh returns. Michigan hosts Rutgers. That's on BTN. Florida State Clemson will be noon on ABC. Oklahoma Cincinnati is at noon on Fox. Colorado and Oregon will be at 3:30, and that game's on ABC. UCLA Utah's on Fox at 3:30. That'll be in Salt Lake City. Ole Miss and Alabama, 3:30 CBS. Duke and UConn, Taquan Roberson, the starting quarterback now for UConn. They will play in East Hartford at 3:30 on CBS Sportsnet. Miami and Temple will play Saturday at 3:30 on ESPN2. Texas, San Antonio, and Tennessee and Knoxville on the SEC Network. Then we get to the night games. Arkansas, LSU at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Oregon State, Washington State, the last two standing in the Pac-12, will face each other at 7 o'clock on Fox in Pullman. Charlotte is at Florida down at the Swamp at 7 on SEC+. See, we're starting to see more streaming like that. UAB, Georgia, ESPN2 at 7:30. Texas, Baylor on ABC at 7:30 in Waco. Baylor's 1-2. Ohio State, Notre Dame's the NBC game at 7:30. And Iowa, of course, Penn State on CBS. The other later games, the 8 o'clock game is North Carolina and Pitt on the ACC Network. Great. And USC and Arizona State play at 10:30 on Fox. That is in Tempe. Cal and Washington will play at Husky Stadium at 10:30 as well, and that is on ESPN. So there you go. There is the rundown for the games this week. Your high school game is at Central Dauphin. I heard you've been thrown out of the press box.
I heard that. They're kicking us out. They've had enough.
Thrown you out of the press box.
Can you believe they've had enough? I can't believe it.
No,
I can't. Well, I'm stunned it took this long. That was, but they have thrown us out.
Threw you out.
That's what I hear.
To sit in the stands.
That's what I hear.
Okay? You always claim to me that you're one of the people, and I never see you among the people.
They'll get the chance tomorrow night. Hopefully, I make it out without any. The Boo Birds hopefully refrain tomorrow.
Yeah,
it'd be the first game that they boo royally before the game even starts, and anybody takes the field.
It's going to be an interesting game for you, too.
I think so. It always is. It always is. It's Central Dauphin is a little bit down this year, but I think State College, again, CD has been that thorn. They've been that opponent. State College beat them last year, obviously, but CD has given them trouble time and time again. It is one of those teams where they're obviously well coached.
It's all about matchups.
Well prepared. Absolutely. All about matchups. State College has not matched up well. Well, they match up well, but they've not had the luck so much, I think, in a lot of ways. A lot of bounces have not gone their way when they played CD, and even the year they went to the state title game, lost to Central Dauphin that year in the regular season. So I think it's going to be a great game. Looking forward to it. The trip down 322 should be interesting, and when the game's over, I think a lot of people will be following me back here, the ones that aren't already in town. So should be an interesting weekend.
What about the ones without the sirens?
The ones without the sirens, I think, will probably already be in town. The ones with the sirens, the extra, the extra force. I just can't believe they'd follow me. It's like a chase for 100 miles all the way into State College. Can't believe I'm that wanted.
Well, not in this building, but I mean, that's.
It's like Al Bundy. There's literally a sign everywhere. Don't accept a check from this man. Don't accept anything from this man.
I couldn't help it. All right. So, did we talk? I don't think we talked about the relegation idea the other day.
No.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a moment. With Washington State and Oregon State, and they're playing each other this week at Martin Stadium in Pullman, playing in the Palouse. And what becomes of them? They're the only two that have not been accepted anywhere on a conference that has now been completely gutted. 4 teams going to the Big Ten: USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. Everybody else going to the Big 12. Colorado, Arizona State, Utah, and problems. And it is, and Cal and Stanford going to the ACC. They are sitting there, and of course the Mountain West is sitting there. The Mountain West plays good football. Do they play great football? No, but they play good football. You saw Colorado State last week, Mountain West team, go toe-to-toe with Colorado in Boulder, and the game went double overtime. Colorado State played well. They are a Mountain West team. We've seen San Diego State play well. They're a Mountain West team. So it's not as if the Mountain West is some sort of desert when it comes to football. They play a good brand of football. Now, do they play the brand of football you see in the Power Five? No, but again, are they capable of knocking off Power Fives? Yeah, because they have over time. There are several proposals floating out there as to how to handle this. One is the Mountain West and the Pac-12 merge under the Pac-12 banner in an attempt to keep the automatic bid for the college football playoff, which, Jason, I don't think they're going to be able to keep, no matter what.
Nope. I agree.
They can do it. They can do it, but they won't get the automatic bid. I'm predicting that the college football playoff will take the top 5 highest ranked conference champions.
Yep.
And
I agree.
7 at large.
7 at large. I agree.
Yep. Instead of the top 6.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they'll, so I don't think they're going to win there. They could merge as the Mountain West. Okay. And go into a group of 5 designation right away with the idea that, hey, look, we could be the highest ranked group of 5 team and we get an automatic bid. Because that's part of it. It could be the American, could be the Conference USA, could be the Sun Belt, could be the Mountain West. I mean, one of those is going to get an automatic bid out of the college football playoff. That's how it works. Okay, so you can do that. So those are 2 proposals. The third one is rather interesting. I will say straight up, I'm not for it, but it is interesting. They take the teams. How many is the Mountain West? They have 14 teams?
I think it's 14.
Hawaii plays just football.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 2, that's 16 with Washington State and Oregon State. And they split into 2. 8 in one, 8 in the other. The top 2 teams in the Mountain West, so let's just do it that way. Top 2 teams in the Mountain West, when the season's over with, move to the Pac-12 the next year. The 2 teams that finish 7th and 8th in the Pac-12 get relegated to the Mountain West. The idea would be at the end of the season, you would have a game where 6 plays 7 and a game where 2 plays 3. It doesn't matter if 1 plays 2, they both would be going.
Right.
2 plays 3, 7 plays 8 on each side. This is the European way of doing it. And what are your thoughts?
I think that's the way you're going to...
I'm sorry, we're out of time.
That's the way you're going to have to do it. No, I think it's the way
we're just being silly today.
It is the way you're going to have to do it. I think that I agree with you entirely.
Do you think that that's an idea you like?
It's when you're talking about, especially when it gets to the playoff, I think you've got to worry about the 5 at large first and foremost. I think you're right.
When it comes to that, I'm talking about the relegation.
The relegation?
Yeah. You and I are in agreement about what they're going to do with the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think it's... the amount of teams, I think it's an idea that is okay to experiment with. I think it's interesting. I don't fully disagree with it by any means. It also doesn't mean I fully agree with it. I think it's you're walking a fine line, but I also think it's a model that can be doable. I think it's going to be interesting to see, especially with the amount of teams. I think is going to be the part that you got to start to wonder.
Okay. You have to remember when you're talking about European soccer, in particular the Premier League,
Right.
that they don't have. I mean, yeah, do they have colleges playing soccer? Yeah, but it's
But
like,
it's different.
okay.
You're gonna have
it really means nothing.
Right.
Okay, nothing. And how many different layers do they have in England? You have the Premier League, the Champions, or the Champions League, right. You have all these layers, and they're all pro leagues,
Right.
where you're going up and down. I mean, for example, Manchester United is guaranteed nothing every year. They have to make sure that they don't finish at the bottom. So, yes, is it possible for Manchester United or Liverpool or Arsenal or Man City or Tottenham to get relegated? Every year it's possible. Just like Leicester City, for years was relegated, somehow was able to get themselves back, win enough, get back into the Premier League, and then won the darn thing. But that's not how American sports works. And just because they do it in Europe, and I always feel this way on most topics, no offense, I don't care what they do in Europe. Okay? What works here? And I think it's an interesting idea to talk about.
Yeah, I do too.
But what is the interest in this country in watching the 6th place team in the Mountain West play the 7th place team, or in the existing Pac-12, the 6th place team plays the 7th place team? What's the interest in that game, except for the two fan bases?
So if the two fan bases getting the game, the extra
in
game.
America, what are you going to do? Put it in prime time?
No,
of course not.
No,
not going to put it in prime time. I mean, you're sitting there. There are other bigger games, bigger fish to fry. It's still a game where 6 plays 7. Okay. Great news. Vanderbilt is going to play Kentucky to see which one gets relegated. You're like, yeah, who cares? Right? It's like, okay. If I'm a Kentucky fan, I care.
It depends on how close we are to basketball season. I'm not sure they're going to care.
If I'm a Vanderbilt, if I'm a Vanderbilt fan, I care.
Yeah.
Okay. If I get relegated, the entire staff is fired.
Staff is fired. Yeah.
So, I think it's an intriguing idea.
That's kind of what that's exactly what I'm looking at. I think it's worthy of discussion. Looking at it, yeah.
But in the end, I've got to come up with a better solution that makes me relevant.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question in it, but it's going to be interesting to see. I'm also.
And here's the other issue with doing that. And Penn State had to do this one time. And that was when they had the COVID season, and you got the bonus game at the end, and suddenly you're preparing for Illinois.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But you're giving somebody a week, 2 sides a week to get ready for each other.
Yeah, and I think it's a two-part of it, too. Number one, you're giving sides a week. That's the biggest thing. But the other part of it, I think in college football right now, I know the NCAA is not emphasizing student-athlete as much as they claim, but I think all the schools are.
Oh, you're so negative.
Well, I've seen it once or twice.
You're so negative.
But I think the schools obviously are. And I think, to me, I don't want to completely downplay a 6 versus 7 game, completely make it irrelevant. But the other part of it is, do you really want to add unnecessary games to a team schedule? And I think that's the other part you have to look at, where okay, academics are extremely important. You're getting later in the academic semester there, and are these athletes prepared with study halls, etc.? I can only speak for here, no question about it.
Right.
But I think in terms of every other school, you're walking that line a little bit. You're adding a game that I'm just not so sure. You talked about it. The interest, I'm not sure, is going to be there, especially you bring up the example of Kentucky. Basketball season's around the corner. They're in full-fledged.
Sure.
What are I don't know how intrigued they're going to be by a matchup that is just not meaning much. And the other part of it is just adding that extra game where you're already adding games in college football as is now by expanding things. I just don't know.
Well, I think they would leave the end of the schedule open.
Yeah,
Okay, to do this. This would not be a bonus game.
No, but you're still... The other part of it, though, you still don't know the opponent.
But no offense, it's not. The game doesn't have... Okay, it has meaning to the people involved. They don't want to get relegated.
Yeah. But it doesn't have meaning.
The casual fan across America, you're like going, okay.
Hey, the part of it, you don't know your opponent.
Alabama's playing Auburn? Good. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Right? Meanwhile, it's going to be New Mexico against San Diego State, who are now happen to be in the Pac-12, and the loser gets relegated. Which game are you watching?
Yeah, exactly. And the other part of it, you do see this in high school from time to time, but 9 times out of 10, it is a game where, look, you're just adding it for the sake of, okay, let's play that extra game and get more practice, get more reps. You're not adding a game in the sense that it has trying to have any meaning to it at all.
Right.
And that's the other part of it. And then the part you bring up, you have a week to prepare for an opponent you don't know about.
Right.
That's the other part that's concerning.
Well, you may have played them. I think
you could have played them already.
I think they wanted to do it in such a way
where you're going to have the repeat opponent.
Because I think you're supposed to play everybody on your side first with 3 crossovers with the Pac-12.
Yeah, still. And then...
But I'm sorry.
But if you're playing for a team for the second time, there should be meaning to it's one thing if let's use the hypothetical going to this conference here. Michigan and Ohio State play each other again. They're playing each other for a rightful reason. They're playing each other probably for a national championship or a playoffs. Kentucky and Vanderbilt are playing each other again, and it has no meaning. They saw it already. Is the fan base really going to be that intrigued?
But the entire purpose of this is TV.
Oh, of course.
Right. So tell me where your personal interest is. Like, they're going to get relegated. This is America.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't care about relegation.
No.
Okay. We care about what's going on at the top, and make it interesting at the end. Get some matchups at the end of the season that are regionalized, that Colorado State plays Air Force. Washington State can play Oregon State in the last game. Or San Diego State playing, against whomever. Right? Fresno State. Right? And do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where you feel like you have some traditional rivals at the end. I mean, for example, Washington plays Washington State for the Apple Cup. Now, how much do the people around here care about the Apple Cup? All right, not much. But the people who live there, it's a big deal.
Sure.
Okay? That game is more meaning than a relegation game.
Right.
And does anybody, east of the Rocky Mountains going to care if Air Force goes to the Pac-12? No. Is anybody east of the Rocky Mountains going to care if Oregon State gets relegated to the Mountain West? No. That's the bottom line. Are people even west? Okay.
No.
Remember, the West now has Oregon, Washington, UCLA, USC, the major brands trying to win Big Ten titles. The end of the season, USC is going to play UCLA.
Right.
The end of the season, Oregon's going to play Washington.
Mm-hmm.
West of the Rocky Mountains, who is going to care at all if Oregon State is playing Air Force to see who gets relegated to the Mountain West?
Right.
It's going to be a footnote.
Yeah. And even
because your conference is a footnote.
Sure. And the other part of it, obviously not completely tied to relegation, the NFL has figured that out. You look at the end of the year, they're doing everything they can to make those Week 18 games meaningful. They're doing everything they can to have those regional opponents, those division opponents. They're doing anything they possibly can do to, this game may not mean something. We're going to do everything we can to make it mean something in one way or another. And they've figured it out. And I think when you look at relegation, I don't think they figured it out by any means. And look,
but again,
there's
just so many layers of British soccer.
Right.
And it's all pro.
It's all pro. Yeah.
Right? It's all pro.
Sure.
And
for the casual fan base, it's difficult to comprehend too. I think when you look at it, that's the other part of it. You know, it's that alone hurts the relevance.
In the American sports scene, you know what it is?
Yeah.
A gimmick.
Yeah, completely. And it's fans don't want to be fully challenged to the point that they have to overthink. And I think that is really where you look at it with the European model. A lot of times, that's what happens. You know, it's one thing for, you know, Lincoln Financial Field to say, Eagles fans, I'm challenging you to wear green, go nuts. That's right. A little bit different than, okay, here's our model of 7 different conferences here. Here's our model of 7 different leagues. Evaluate where here, and here. Fans don't want their intelligence insulted at all.
So let's give you an example. Temple playing, I think Navy's in the American, right?
Right.
Temple plays Navy to see if they get relegated to Conference USA.
Yeah.
Right. Where's the interest in anybody in that game? None. I don't care if they either one of them go to Conference USA. What do I care?
Nope.
Okay?
No.
Okay. I'm looking at the top.
Yeah.
The top is where all the games are.
Sure.
So you get to the last weekend of the season. Michigan State, Penn State, Ford Field, Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, Michigan on a Saturday. Auburn, Alabama on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you're looking at here. You're going to get to a point next year where Texas and Texas A&M are going to play that weekend. Who is going to care?
Nobody.
If Fresno State is going to be playing against Boise State to see who goes to the Pac-12, well, yeah, okay, great. So what? Because you're not going to get an automatic bid to begin with. Okay? Unless you are perceived to be the number one highest ranked team, which it would not be those two teams. It would not be those two teams.
No.
You want to know why? Because they'd be second and third. They'd be a first place team. Could be San Diego State. They could be the highest ranked team, right? As the first place team, they'd be the ones going to the playoff. That's what people care about.
100%. Absolutely.
And that we have established a rock solid mindset in this country, and Europe has established a rock solid mindset. Europe has a great mindset about what their traditions happen to be with soccer and relegation, right? I would never expect them to change because it works for them. Just like we shouldn't be expected to change because it works for us.
That goes to my point. Yeah, that goes to my point. You can't change tradition is what I dare say. You can't fully get rid of, okay, we're going to switch to a model that you have no clue about and you're going to have to learn it. They're not going to they don't want time to learn it. No. They, as a fan, you literally are accustomed to a football Saturday, here's what I do.
Right.
You don't have to be accustomed to full change. When you do that, forget about it. The fan loses interest.
You're going to tell me that the team that finishes in 16th place, in 15th and 16th place in the SEC is now going to have to play in Conference USA? Come on.
No,
number one, nobody's going to vote for it.
No.
Now for them, this is different. Everybody's desperate.
Yeah.
All right. So, and I know there are some people out there that love the idea, right? Those who follow soccer.
Yeah, no.
I mean, those who follow soccer,
right.
But not even the MLS relegates. There's no place to go.
There's no place to go. No, absolutely not.
Right? What are you going to do? Take the Chicago Bears and they're going to be in the USFL? No. Okay, it's not going to happen.
Some good USFL teams might be able to beat the Bears right now.
Again, you're so negative. All right.
Well, they speak like they're 0-12 right now, and they're 0-2.
Well,
that's the scary part of it.
Yeah, but that's just the way it is. But I have great respect for how the system works in Europe.
Absolutely.
And how it works in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Because it's long-standing, traditional, and based on their system and the levels that they have on the pro side, it works. And That's something that's not done in this country.
No.
Right? It doesn't mean you can't talk about it, but that would be my argument. Hey, look, you know what? Why don't we just form one conference here and go 1 through 14, 1 through 16, whatever, and just go from there.
Yes.
And see if we can become the highest ranked group of 5.
Yeah, and I think the old cliche is relevant in this topic. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, there are people who think that because of the bottom, it's broke.
Yeah.
All right. Well, every single league in the world has a bottom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because guess what? When the season is over, guess what the cumulative record is of every team in college football when you put them all together? 500.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because every game has a winner and a loser. Okay? So in the end, the whole thing, National Football League, what's the cumulative record when it's all done? Hey, 500. Okay? Well, guess what? Yeah. And I think what is driving this, I know you're going to be shocked by this, is money.
It's full shock. Full shock. Not the student athlete. I'm hearing student athlete. Everybody preaches student athletes.
No.
No, not quite.
But they're not going to get a lot of money to begin with.
No. They're not going to, not in that part.
They are talking about, this is the discussion point. Because remember, the Pac-12 does not have a TV contract.
Right.
That's why everybody left. They looked around and said, USC and UCLA looked around and said, you know what? We can't keep sticking around for this. Let's go for the big payday. It's going to benefit the entire athletic department. Oregon and Washington were begging for a year. Please, think of your brothers in the Northwest. Right? So they're going to get a partial share, which is not unusual in the Big Ten. Rutgers, Maryland, Nebraska all had to go do the gradual, to get in there. And Fox, to its credit, came up with the extra money to get Oregon and Washington in. Tony needed to get the money for it, and that's how he did it. As he I talked to Tony about it. 3 weeks ago, and but they don't have a TV contract. Mm-hmm. And then with Washington, Oregon. With USC, UCLA, then Colorado going. Now you got Washington and Oregon. They're like, hey, we got to get out of here. As soon as they saw the streaming deal.
Right.
And Apple, and part of it was they could have had a supplemental linear deal with ESPN or Fox. Fox did hang in there longer than people realized.
Right.
Longer than I realized until I was told about it. And Apple refused. They wanted exclusive streaming. And that's why everybody looked around and said, we need to head for the hills. I need people to see our games. Mm-hmm. Now, the Mountain West does have a TV deal with CBS. And CBS Sports Net. But under this agreement, they're talking about each school on the Pac-12 side getting about $7 million. And they're talking about each school on the Mountain West side getting $5 million. That's America. That's American conference money.
Right.
That's what you're getting in the American right now.
Yeah.
I think they get like $7.8 million per school, something like that, out of their deal. That's what they get. Well, it doesn't change anything. And the reason it doesn't change anything is that Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, USC, UCLA, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, they're all going to be getting 70+ million per, 10 times more. It's going to make no difference. Right? And American sports fans are not into gimmicks.
Right.
So I'll give you a gimmick. The winner of the baseball all-star game, that league will host the first 2 games and games 6 and 7 of the World Series. Okay? Did that ever catch on?
No. It alienated the heck out of people.
Right? It never caught on. And the reason it never caught on is it was a gimmick. Everybody's like, eh. Right?
Yeah.
It was a meaningless game.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? When 6 plays 7 in the Pac-12, it'll have great meaning for the athletic directors because the winner will get more money. The loser will get relegated and get less money. But it doesn't do anything.
No.
Hey,
No.
So here we are. There's a Pac-12 game. It's going to be let's just pick the two everybody would understand. Washington State or Oregon State. For whatever reason, it's been that year where they're sitting there. Washington State's in 6th and Oregon State's in 7th. Okay, those are the two biggest brands left. All right, maybe Boise State is whatever. Well, first of all, do you care? This is not USC and UCLA playing each other to see who gets relegated. Oh, man, what a bad year. I mean, USC might get relegated to the Mountain West. Because there's brand power. All those schools that you're talking about are all fine schools. And I watch some Mountain West football. I like it. Right? You know, I don't sit there and it's not appointment TV for me, but when I've watched it, I've liked it. I like watching Colorado State play, San Diego State, Boise State. You know, Fresno State's not bad. New Mexico. Yeah, I've watched some games from time to time. You know, Air Force. That's fine. But two 6th and 7th place teams, I have zero interest in it. None. And I love college football. But it is no interest to me whatsoever. No. And I'm telling you, if Oregon State were playing Washington State, okay, again, it's not USC and UCLA playing each other. We sit there and go, well, I might watch that game. Wow, I've had a bad year. You're telling me that USC can end up in the Mountain West? I think I'll watch that. This might be a fight to the finish. Okay? Well, Oregon State, Washington State could be a fight to the finish, but I have no interest in it. None.
Right.
To me, it's just, it's a second-tier conference with a relegation game. So what? It's not like Alabama's playing Auburn and the loser ends up being relegated. Ooh.
Yeah.
How about that? See my point?
Oh, yeah.
You notice in the Premier League, it never comes down to Man U and Man City to see who's relegated.
No. Nope.
What a great system. I can't wait to watch whomever. Nottingham Forest play. No, I really don't care. They're going to get relegated. Good. Sorry. Interest low.
Yeah.
But State High would get relegated. What do you think?
Well, yeah, State High against Harrisburg, one of them gets relegated. Yeah, that would be strong interest. Carlisle and hey, you know what? The Mid-Penn is so competitive at this point. There aren't too many bottom feeders anymore. Carlisle and Chambersburg for the right. That's Chambersburg. I know you just spent quite a bit of money a decade ago on that facilities, but you might get relegated.
I have to ask you, what do you think of that place?
Love them. Well, the job they did, not only on the football field, which has been incredible,
but
the building, both of them are
like a campus, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, incredible, absolutely incredible. There's no doubt.
That's great.
Yeah, spent a lot on it, but it paid off.
Is it an idea worth discussing? Sure. Is it an idea I vote no on? Absolutely.
Probably.
No, not probably. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
I would. I've listened to it. I've listened to the concept of it. In the end, there's no way I could vote for it. Because hey, you're at the bottom. You're at the bottom. Just Like, figure out a way to get those two together with the Mountain West and see if you can survive that way. To me, that's, again, this is college sports. Okay? When we're talking about what they do with soccer in Europe, and in particular in the Premier League, they're all pros.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're sitting there and you're trying, you have ownership, and ownership's trying to spend money, and it's like, no, it's like, that's different. As opposed to this. No. But it's worthy of discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
And I respect completely respect the system that they have in Europe. And I would hope that they respect the system we have here, because it's just a different way of doing things. We have a strong collegiate model in college football, college basketball, volleyball, men's and women's soccer. You keep going through it all. Collegiate baseball, softball. And that's one thing they don't have over there. They don't have the collegiate model in place. We're the only place in the world that really does. And I don't care who's playing for sixth place in the Pac-12. I'd care who's playing for first.
Sure.
Now, if it's my team, I'd be really interested.
Yeah.
But I was going to be interested in the game anyway, because it's my team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. The Red Sox this year are not a good team. But do I check the score every day? Yep. When they're on, have I watched them? Yep, it's my team. It's not as entertaining as it used to be.
No.
But it's still my team. Okay? Pirates fans, do you watch your Pirates play? Of course you do. It's your team. Okay? You'd still be watching whether it's a relegation game or it's a game at the end of the season. Like, I think they clobbered the Cubs last night, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, guess what? You'll be watching it. Why? It's your team. You think fighting for to stave off relegation, or we could climb back into it? Like, okay, that doesn't. Come on. You're going to sit there and you're going to sit there as a fan and say, "Wow, Indianapolis is going to be elevated and we're going to be relegated." That's not how the system is set up here.
No.
And again, we have a high school, college, pro system that is in place here. It is different than the European system. European system is a professional system. They're all pros. You don't have, I remember being in Ireland, and Penn State practiced at College of Dublin. And where they practiced was on a soccer pitch. They aligned it like for a football field for Penn State to practice. Now, this is Ireland. If I got on a ferry in Dublin and went over to Liverpool, which wouldn't take long, it's because they're so close, it would be a little different attitude. Okay. But I asked college students there about their feelings about soccer. Well, it's Ireland. They love hurling, Gaelic football, and sitting down in third place, they like American football even a little bit more than soccer. I said, what kind of team do you have? Oh, here at College of Dublin. He said, we don't have a good team at all. We're bad, but everybody's bad. Because it's college. It's not professional. The college system over there is nobody has it like we do.
No.
And people don't go for gimmicks. I'm not even sure the play-in with the NBA is still quite there. It still feels gimmicky to me.
No, I think sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's
it feels
perfect.
It feels
too.
gimmicky.
Yeah,
to me.
exactly.
The first year they kind of got fortunate, and the Lakers played the Warriors, so you got LeBron and Steph out there. Like,
the Warriors, Grizzlies too, same thing. Yeah, good playing games, but no, I still think it's a little bit gimmicky, and I think the in-season tournament they're doing now is a little bit.
There'll be a gimmick.
Yeah, I think it's a little gimmicky.
No offense, I'm not going to watch that. I could care less.
No, and that's it. Just doesn't have. People, I think you listen to the fans, obviously, first and foremost, but the other part of it is you don't always listen, the old cliche, you start listening too much to the guy in the stands, you're going to be in the stands. And I think that's a lot of things the NBA have done, and they've done some good things. I don't discredit that. Their ratings are great right now. And that was with the Nuggets and the Heat in the finals. But
their postseason ratings are great.
They've been phenomenal.
Season ratings
and that's the point. Regular season ratings are not good. Regular season is where the fans are saying they ought to just get rid of the regular season for the most part, cut some games because everybody makes the playoffs. 16 teams get in. Now 20 teams get in. They're somewhere
20 out of 30.
Out of 30, yeah. So I think you listen too much. You start to come up with gimmicks, ways to draw interest, and a lot of times you hurt yourself more than you help yourself. And I think you're running that risk in the NBA with doing what you're doing, where, okay, we're going to have those in-season tournaments. Who's going to care when that in-season tournament is the Sixers and the Pistons? I don't think it's... and look, that's not necessarily the opponents, but who's going to care when you have that kind of...
They aren't.
No, that's the point. They're going to care as much as that about that as they do a regular season game, no matter who you play.
With their TV partners, the NBA will build up into the biggest thing going, and in the end, the fans are going to go, whatever.
Exactly. The fans are going to go, we'll watch, maybe.
Give me a call in May and in June.
In June. Absolutely. You look at Major League Baseball when it gets to that tail end. If it's a close race, or NFL even for that matter, Week 18.
Look at Texas and Houston and Toronto right now.
Sure.
They're all close.
Last game of the year, I go back to the year where the Rays, Red Sox, and so many other teams were fighting for the playoffs there. And last day of the year, teams got eliminated.
Rays hit a home run, and the Red Sox lost late to the Orioles.
Yeah.
The Rays got in.
Yeah, those games, I think people are so attentive and love it. NBA has moments like that. I don't think it matters. And I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it's not going to have the relevance and intrigue that something like the final game of the NFL season or the final game of Major League Baseball season will have. And that's nothing against the NBA or even NHL for that matter. Right. It's just there's so many teams in the playoffs, it's hard to care enough. And look, people care when you're a diehard basketball fan, but it's hard to care enough about those regular season games. That includes the last game of the year if something's on the line.
Right. You're going to be a fan of your team no matter what.
Absolutely.
Okay. The idea of all these ideas are to draw casual fans in for TV ratings. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So you're saying the Sixers play the Pistons in this midseason tournament. Well, Sixer fans are going to be locked in. Piston fans are going to be locked in. I didn't say there are a lot of them, but they're going to be locked in. The rest of the country's going to be like, Right? What drives a rating? So let's go to Saturday night. Notre Dame, Ohio State. Two gigantic brands going head-to-head. In great competition with the whiteout. Penn State at home. Best atmosphere in America. Iowa.
Where you have a backstory to it.
You're going to have millions watching it.
Absolutely.
Right? Because of the brands.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the Penn State brand, but the whiteout brand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what draws people in. There is so little interest in any game at the bottom of the heap.
Right.
Now, I remember we criticized the Mavericks for holding people out in the last game because they could have had the 10th spot if they won.
Right.
They held out Doncic. They held out Kyrie.
Kyrie at that time, yeah.
Okay. But it was still a game for 10th place. Did I have any interest in who won that game? No. I just criticize them for holding out.
Yeah, because you had the chance to advance and didn't.
No, because they're fans.
Yeah,
because of their
they're
fans, not because of me.
No.
Right? As a cat, I had no interest in watching the game.
The other part of it, you had the chance to get in the playoffs, and you're spitting on the fans.
Right. You're telling your fans in the last home game of the season, nah, it's not worth it. We want to go to the draft. Oh, really? Okay, great. Well, why do I want tickets then?
Yeah.
I don't want tickets.
No.
Right?
No.
But across the country? No.
No. And that's... And a first-round pick in the NBA is not a first-round pick in NFL.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
Well.
You're a lottery pick, top 10, you're picking in the top 10 or top 13, sure. But you have a first-round pick that's 28. I've seen teams donate a first-round pick for cash. It's not a spot where it's not like the NFL, where first-round picks are extremely cherished.
It's just, except for the fan bases of the respective teams,
right?
Who, for the most part, would be locked in anyway. You may get a few extra casual fans of the teams.
Of the teams, yeah, you're not going to get.
But not nationally.
No.
Right? This is great. Great what? I don't care who goes to the Pac-12.
Right.
I don't care who goes to the Mountain West. The vast majority of America doesn't care. And that's why if the vast majority of America doesn't care, it's not worth trying. Come up with a better plan, get a TV contract, and go. Europeans, with how they've done this over the years, it's entrenched, but it's also all professional. It's entrenched. So it's right there in their mindset. We don't understand why you guys don't do relegation. Well, guess what? We don't understand why you guys do what you do.
Right.
Right. So it's like, that's fine. How about like both systems work? It works great in Europe, and the American system works great here. I don't mind anybody bringing up the idea.
Right.
Fine. All right. Look, if you could show up tomorrow with like a little more in your fastball, it'd be great.
Velocity's still a little bit there halfway through. Well, quarter of the way through the year. End of the year, forget about it. You're going to be...
He walks in the hallway. I looked over and go, oh, my day is ruined.